And we're going to go live. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Wait for it. I think we're, I think we're live, but we are recording just in case we're not live. So let's get started. Gazala Vahanvati.
Yes.
Did I mutilate your name?
No, not at all. You said it perfectly.
I didn't mutilate your name. Welcome to Brand DIY.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And welcome to Canada. You're a recent new addition to the family here.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been wonderful.
How long have you been here now?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Wow. Okay. So you're okay. I'm not going to welcome you. You've been here a long time now. So give us a little bit of background on yourself. You worked for like an amazing company, Landlord Associates, one of the best design firms in the whole wide world. And you worked in a cool place too. You worked in India. So, I mean, I want to hear some stories.
So I actually joined Landlord straight after I finished my post-graduation in strategic design management. I was looking for a job and I came across that Landlord was coming to India, and somebody actually forwarded me an email that the person setting up was looking for people. So I reached out to the person and had a couple of interviews, and that was it. So I joined Landlord straight after post-graduation, and I've been with them since. I was actually the first person that they hired after the boss, after the CEO. And I have learned and grown with Landlord since then. This was in 2008. And I was with them until I left to come to Canada.
And you came because of family?
I came because we just wanted to, because of family, we wanted to change, and this opportunity came up and we decided to come here and have some new adventures.
So you're in a really cool, well, maybe not for you cool, but for me cool. You're in a very, very cool position because you are a consultant. You're a brand strategist, just like me. And you're finding yourself in a new situation. And the reason I really wanted to have you on the show is because with COVID and the economic meltdown, we are seeing a lot of people who previously worked in big companies suddenly becoming consultants. They're suddenly on their own. They have to do something because, well, the big company kicked them out the door. Your circumstances were a lot nicer. You moved on purpose, but a lot of folks, they don't have a job to go back to. So I just thought that this would be such an awesome opportunity for the folks at Brand DIY to sort of go through the challenges that you're facing. And maybe I think we might have some solutions to lift your spirits, to lift your profile, and to lift the bottom line for you as well. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about what you've done in Victoria. First of all, describe as a brand strategist what you'd say your superpower is.
Deep thinking. I love to immerse myself in a new company, a new industry, and learn about them. And I think my superpower is really understanding that the competitive space immediately, what the competitors are doing, where that particular brand that I'm working on is, and what the opportunities might be.
Okay. And then as a brand strategist, then do you take that learning and do you then apply it to like design or communications, or where does your job end?
Yeah, so at my previous employer, it continued, of course. So we would work on the strategy, and then it would be making sure that that strategy is translated into design or whatever the experiences that we are creating for the brand. So it would also involve translating that and then managing that process, making sure every step of the way it is aligned to the strategy, critiquing the work, and right until it comes out and is handed over to the client to execute and run with it.
Okay.
I would do the same now.
Okay. Okay. Now, what has your experience been so far in Victoria? I mean, the sort of word on the street, and when I've spoken to folks, and I also experienced this myself, is that this is a town where if you want to get hired, it's hard, but if you come and you're an entrepreneur, you bring your own job, you can get footing here. But it is hard. It's not the easiest town to sort of like meet people in and stuff like that. What's been your experience?
So I started out in the traditional route. I started sending my resume out through job openings that came up on Indeed. There was absolutely nothing I noticed for my profile. A lot of it was very marketing specific. Now I have done something so specialized for so long. I didn't see companies looking out for that kind of a profile. So I decided, and I thought that there is perhaps an opportunity to do this for companies. If nobody else is thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first thought. So I kind of paused the application process and I said, let me try doing this on my own. And that's when I said, okay, let me look up where I can network, how I can reach people, started making connections on LinkedIn. It just so happened that I have a huge network in India. So when I put it out there that I'm, looking at freelance, looking at consulting projects, a lot of inquiries came from there. There are a lot of people who had connections here, and that's how my first project came through as well,
Mm-hmm.
through that network and connection. But now the challenge is keeping that going, right? How do I how do I continue to get projects? And this is something where there is less opportunity of continued work, and it's more about every project being new, reaching out to new people all the time. So that's really been my challenge, especially in this situation where everyone's sort of at home and not getting out. How do you meet people? How do you get the word out that you're here, you're someone who is specializing in brand and brand strategy and can work with companies to take their brand to another level?
Awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, that is an awesome challenge. And I think that I have taken some steps along that I've seen work for me. So I might be able to share some stuff that works for you too.
Okay,
You want to
brilliant.
hear it?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
good. Cool. Now, one of the first things I noticed when I went to your LinkedIn profile was that you had a guy on that profile, Dan Gunn. Now, for folks who don't know, Dan Gunn is a bit of a minor celebrity. Well, kind of a big deal, actually. Not a minor celebrity. He's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. Have you met him in person or just connected with him?
Oh, just connected with him very recently.
Okay. Okay, now I got a great story because when I first moved to Victoria, I knew a journalist named Andrew Duffy, and well, I still know Andrew Duffy, but he's a great guy, and he covers business news. And he introduced me to Dan Gunn, and he said, "You got to come with me to this party called the Viatech Awards." And that's all about like the local tech community has a big award ceremony. So he invited me, and I went along. And the first thing I noticed was that the ballroom was filled with 800 people. I think the entire population of Victoria was at this party. And I was like, I didn't know there was this many people. And he said, oh yeah, and it's crazy. And Dan Gunn was the guy who put this whole thing together. And the Viatech Awards are insane. And next year, if you know Dan, say, I want in on the Viatech Awards, because that is the best place in the whole wide world to hang out with people and meet new people. And this is a community in Victoria that is incredibly inclusive. They're super cool. They're not all like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. They love people. So I went to the awards and Dan was running the awards, and I got a personal little funny story. It was the first time I went to these award shows, and I sort of cashed out a little bit early as things were getting crazy, and they got real crazy at the end of the show. And I went outside, and there, standing on the step just outside the convention center, was a guy in a crushed purple velvet smoking jacket and black tuxedo pants and a space helmet, like an astronaut helmet. And in front of him, looking at me, were about 150 people, mostly about 20 years old, most of them mostly naked. And they were all dressed in like gold paint and crazy outfits. And I'm like, what the Sam Hill? And the guy turns around and it's Dan Gunn. And he says, hey, how you doing? And I go, what the hell is this all about? He says, what I do after the award show, I unleash these people into the crowd, all of whom are wearing like, decent clothes. And some of them are a little, straight laced. And he says, I unleash these guys in there and they go nuts. And it turns it into this insane party. I'd recommend this. Anybody who works in Victoria has to go to the Viatech Awards. It's a gong show. I love it. I try to go every year. Anyways, okay. So Dan Gunn, you know Dan Gunn, sort of know Dan Gunn. You got to meet him in person. First time I was introduced to Dan Gunn personally, Andrew had set up the meeting, and Dan says, so what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a brand strategy guy. I'm a creative director. I help companies make simpler pitches. And I said, I don't really know why I'm here because I'm not a tech guy. He goes, oh no, you don't understand. We need guys like you because tech guys don't know how to pitch their way out of a wet paper bag. They don't know how to speak simple, like human language. I go, really? So right away I went, oh, cool. Well, there's need for what I do. And it's so cool to hear it played back to you from somebody else, from an outsider. And then what he did, he gave me this book. And for everybody in brand DIY, buy this book. This book was written by one of the founders of the Boulder, Colorado tech startup movement. And there's two big points in here that in order for a startup community to succeed, and in Victoria, it's succeeding really well, you need two things. You need a couple of leaders who know what the vision of the community is going to be. And you need a whole bunch of followers, folks like me, who are willing to volunteer. And so Dan said, read this book. He gave me a book, and the quote inside from him is, because everything is always in beta, always enjoy your homework. And the homework that he was referring to was doing the groundwork. And for me, the groundwork was volunteering my time and getting in front of a whole bunch of founders and helping them create simpler pitches, because that's what I do. And right away, boom, I do that for a session of about 10 entrepreneurs, and I land my first contract. And what's cool about it, contract I landed, it wasn't a startup right out of the garage. This was Starfish Medical, a really, actually quite a big company, quite a big deal. And they hired me, and they continue to hire me. So I started landing contracts bit by bit. Now that brings me to the second part. So the volunteering thing, for anyone who is a consultant, don't shortchange volunteering. If you see a community that you want to be a part of, like tech for me, and you feel like you don't have anything to offer, ask. And if you can volunteer some time, don't volunteer to like hand out tickets at the show. Volunteer doing what you do, so that people go, oh, I get what she does. I understand the value of it. And that brings us to the second point. When you land a gig, tell me about the number of testimonials on your LinkedIn page.
Not too many.
Not a
5.
lot.
Yeah.
We had this conversation before. When I do these gigs, and they're volunteer gigs, I consult. I actually do, sometimes I do consulting for free too, where I take a startup and I give them some pointers, and I usually give them way more time than an accountant said I could support my business with. I just like to help. So what I do at the beginning of the engagement, I say, okay, I'm going to give you all this free advice, thousands of dollars of free advice. I only ask for 3 things in return. 1, you got to follow the advice. If you don't follow the advice, you're wasting my time. All right. 2, you need to send me 3 companies that have money. So if I give you for free, you have to give me a lead to a company that has money. All right. And I'm going to follow up on that. I'm not going to let you off the hook. And 3, I need you to write me a LinkedIn testimonial that is so positive, it's embarrassing. And I'm going to actually lay out the format. I met Gazala at this point. This is what we did together. Here was my problem. Here's how she took me through the process. And here's the solution that we came up with. And I would recommend her to a type of company.
Yeah, that format is a great idea.
Now, yeah. And if you write it for them, they will tweak it, but at least you'll have a testimonial that doesn't say, Gazala is really great, which is a useless testimonial. You want a long testimonial, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, so that people go, I understand the difference she made. I understand what her superpower is. I understand that how she helped this company. And this is useful not just for your own feeling of self-worth, which it's wonderful for, especially if you're in between contracts, but it's also extremely good for outsiders to look at you and go, I get it. I didn't know what a brand strategist did, but I see Bob, my friend, he talked to her and he got this, this, and this. So you of all people know that a brand is two things. One, it's a promise you make to people, and you made that promise right at the very beginning, like what your superpower is. But equally, or even more important, is what they expect from you. And usually that is not the same thing. So if you get testimonials from a person in, financial tech, or somebody growing cannabis, or somebody who's doing medical innovation, and they say, I don't understand what she does, but she made it possible for me to see a clear path to money. Oh, so your brand is you make a clear path to money. And I get it. And you start collecting those testimonials. And then what you do, you start calling them back and going, all right, how's it working out? Is it working out? You got anybody that you can send my way? Just checking. Right now, like I told you before in our conversation, I've got about 80 different testimonials. And most of them are not by luck. Most of them are by asking. And then I also trade. You see that I probably have about 70 testimonials I've given. So, if somebody gives me a testimony, you'll honor them with, I respect you and I think that's a huge favor. I'm going to do the same favor for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. So I believe that there's a relatively easy path to getting initial work. Now that doesn't solve the problem of money, because you need paying gigs. However, what it does get you into a group of people who understand what you do, tell other people what you do, and write a testimonial about what you do. And then it comes down to leveraging that and putting that out to a wider audience. Now, there's a thing that my friend Joe Girard, who's been on this show before, taught me about outreach, because I hate it. Like yourself, I'm a marketer. I'm not a salesman. And the prospect of calling up people, cold calling people and saying, I want you to give me business, I would sooner crawl across broken glass. I come from an ad agency background. We don't do that. It's gross, I thought. However, it was something interesting that Joe taught me. He said, I want to show you something. I've mentioned this before. This book is a book that you need to buy. I don't know if you've got it.
No, not yet, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Run out and buy it right now, and buy the paper version. Don't buy the Kindle version. My first version was Kindle. Get it in paper, because it's one of those books that you want to look at again and again. And what this book is all about is not walking up to somebody like, when you have all those people who say, I want to build you a website. And you're like, I don't need a website. Piss off. But it talks about figuring out what one or two or three people who are on your radar, what they need, because you've done a little bit of homework on LinkedIn. You've done a bit of research, the newspaper articles, the blog posts they've written. So you understand where they're coming from and you see there's an alignment with what you do. Then what you want to do, you want to think to yourself, if I was to talk to this person, what would I say that made them go, oh, how'd you know that? How'd you know I was having that problem? How'd you know that solution would actually be a good solution? You want them to go, this is kind of weird. How does she know this? And the tool that absolutely set me free was Loom, Loom. You heard of it? Yeah?
Yes.
Now, Loom, for the folks who don't know, enables you to do a video and capture that video and then send it to somebody. And even better, you can capture a little GIF of yourself going through these little motions. And so you send them a video, you send them an email and said, hey, Bob, I was thinking about your problem in the dog food industry. I've been reading these stories and I wonder, are you feeling this problem? Because a lot of dog food guys are feeling this problem. I've got an idea on something that might really help. But I'm not going to type, just watch the video. And there's the little video of you doing this, and they click on it, and it becomes a 1-minute show of you talking. Hey, we don't know each other. I'm in Canada, you're in San Diego. But I love dog food, and I've seen all these problems in dog food. And if you're feeling this, I don't know if you've heard about this solution. I don't do it myself, but I'm thinking that this might be something that might really help. I'm a brand strategist, and you know what I get off on is just finding people a straight line to money. So check out the video, and I'll follow up in a couple of days, or you can just book a time in my calendar, click right here. And it was incredible because my response rate when I started doing that was pretty close to 100%.
Wow.
Insane. Thank you, Joe Girard. Thank you, Neil Rackham, for writing this book, because spin selling is a revelation for anybody who works in brands and marketing and is scared of selling. Spin selling and Joe Girard at Change, Grow, Achieve out here in Victoria, friend of mine, they're absolute godsends. And it makes selling fun because you don't feel like you're just saying, hi, want to buy some gum? You go up to people and you go, I'm really smart and I thought about this. And if you're interested, great. If not, so that was a real revelation. So I guess long story short, again, we got the whole idea of check out what's going on in your community. Dan Gunn, if you know him on LinkedIn, you got to get to know him in person. Tell him that I sent you. He'll make you wait twice as long then. Tell him about that you read this book, that Mark Stoiber recommended it, and that you want to volunteer as a brand strategist doing something. And then the idea of reaching out to people, even if they don't have a lot of money, but leveraging them, giving them something so that they can give you leads, and more important, they can give you recommendations which plays back what they think your value is. Because outsiders will tell you what your value is much more simply than when you explain it.
Yeah.
So you've got LinkedIn recommendations, and then reaching out to people and going, okay, I understand now. I've got 20, 30 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to reach out to clients who I think could benefit from this. And you just start scanning the news, or using services like Owler to sort of like hone in on companies and their competition and find out what the problems are through press releases and things like that, and stories in the media. And then use services like Loom to just make introductories to yourself and say, hey, if you're feeling this problem, I understand a lot of your competitors are, and I'm really smart and I can find a path to money. So, and the response rate to that for me so far has been about 100%, because everybody opens up the videos because nobody's doing it. And then from that, maybe half of them I get a conversation with, and of that, I land contracts with about 10%. So yay, amazing. Go team.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel good about yourself. Consultants, I don't know if you feel this, but it's a lonely world. You mentioned before in the conversation, you got to take out the garbage, you got to find the business, you got to service the business, you got to build, you got to do everything. So that's hard. But if you find a community, and I'm glad that you're in Brand DIY, because this is a real good little community. If you want to reach out, you want to try ideas out on folks, there's also a lot of founders and entrepreneurs here who are looking for people like you. So reach out to them and see if you can get some traction. LinkedIn recommendation to 3 businesses that have money, and the commitment to follow your advice so you can start building case studies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
I hope it helps. And the knowledge that the struggle continues. If you follow all this advice, you're not going to wake up in 6 months and go, oh, thank God. I mean, I'm still in the same boat.
Yeah, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah, and you have to hang out with people where you go, oh, I feel like such a loser. And they go, oh, you too? And you'll find out that all of us feel like losers. That's why there's another wonderful thing in Victoria called Fuck Up Nights.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Go. Fuck Up Nights is awesome. And for folks who haven't heard of it, most cities who have tech communities have Fuck Up Nights. And what they are It started in Mexico because the problem with tech entrepreneurs, there's an overly high ratio of suicide and mental illness and addiction in the tech community, because founders have seen so many companies go from 0 to IPO in 6 weeks, and they've been struggling for 3 years on this idea, and they haven't landed investment, et cetera, and they feel like such losers. And what fuck up nights are good for is they have founders get up on stage and say, you know what, you think I'm successful, I'm driving a nice car now. Let me tell you how badly I fucked up and how I continue to fuck up and how scary it is right now and how this new deal just fell through. And you sit in the audience and you go, wow, because you think they're gods. But it's so comforting to know that virtually everybody feels, insecure, and they feel like the struggle, and it just makes you feel like you're not unique and therefore you're okay, which you are, So there you go. That's all the time we got.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark. This was really, really helpful.
No, I'm not going to let you off the hook. Now, follow the advice.
Yes.
I don't want you to bring me 3 companies because, you'd be bringing me 3 companies that should be going to you. However, I want you to get involved in the brand DIY community and put the word out. I want to see, because I'm watching all the stuff that goes on. I want you to get out there and I want you to throw it out there and say, listen, I will give free 1-hour consults if anybody is interested, and see if people take you up on it.
Yeah.
And then throw them that challenge. They got to follow your advice. They got to throw you 3 names, and they got to give you a LinkedIn profile that is just embarrassing positive.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what you're still doing here. You should be getting to work.
That offer is open, free 1-hour consult if anyone wants to get in touch with me. And I will also put it on the group.
Put it on the group. Write it in the discussion. Write it right in there.
All right.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.